welcome to the Hello Show. I am your host, Kimberly My Voice, and we want to welcome back the Cruzette. If you did not see the show on February 14th, I ask you, please go back and view it because this is part 2 of our conversation. And the conversation tonight is love is forgiveness. When I say we had some grown folk conversation, I mean, I tried to get like, hey, I got to mature a little bit to do this. So I'm asking you, like I always ask you, if you're looking at this video and you know someone that needs to conversation, please like, and I want you to share. Please share it on your timeline right now. Because if you know someone that needs to say hello to their fears, circumstances, situations, and mainly a relationship, because you know how we do, we just talk about people, ooh, look at them or why they here. But this is a time to show how much you love that friend and give them some good conversation on tonight. So we're about to start. You are tuned in to IntellectualRadio.com, where we like to feed your brain. Tonight's topic is love is forgiveness. And I have my guests back for the second time. We might have to create a show around them like monthly. Every month, get your fix of forgiveness because what we learned 2 weeks ago, that it's a routine. It's a practice. You have to practice. So even though we heard all that good content, we have to learn how to apply it daily. Absolutely. So again, I want to welcome John and Yuri Cruzette. I'm just going to have them just speak a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, bring people up to speed before we get into some questions, okay? Go ahead, John. I know you're ready.
You know, we were excited about getting the mission to expand the forgiveness message because there were a lot of people actually talking about it. But for us, it was unique because we noticed in our family, in our church, in our other relationships, that there were barriers based on things that happened in the past. And the past was having way too much influence. And we realized that forgiveness freed up all of that. Once you're able to, what we call let go, forgiveness opens you up because it's for you, not for the other person. Right. Certainly they benefit, but you benefit even more because your relationship with the Lord stays strong. You are then in a better position to decide who you get into relationship and stay in relationship with. And if you're in a committed relationship, it allows you to refresh that tie and keep it refreshed through the practice of forgiveness.
Yeah. And I think, with us being in our third marriage each, having 7 children combined, for those of you that didn't know our story completely, we've had to go through a lot of iterations of forgiveness and blending our families, blending philosophies, blending parenting styles. It's been a lot. And so forgiveness has saved our lives. It really has.
It has. Oh, wow. So I'm just going to recap on a few things before I get into questions because, again, we have our lines open. You can call us at 708-223-8953. A lot of people said I'm not going to call in, Kim, but I inbox you some questions. So I do have your questions here. Remind me not to say their names, right? I'll be like, yeah, because John said. No. But if you want to call in and you have a comment or question, please dial in. Again, the number is 708-223-8953.
Call in.
So on last week, we learned that love is forgiveness. And it was a few points that I just have to establish because it's going to take us into some of the questions. We said forgiveness is a process. And I want to, and a practice, and a practice, a process and a practice. And I want to keep that in the forefront to kind of tell some people, it's a voluntary decision to wish the other person well.
Yeah.
That we have to be that person to decide that. So those were 2 key factors that I want to keep up there because I think is going to help us answer some of these questions.
Sure.
So someone asked, this is for John. I'm going to go right to the guys question.
All right, here we go.
Because I love mentoring and ministering to the guys. He said, it was a part that you talked about that you had to look inward. You had to look inward. I think it was the part once you were talking about how you were in a marriage and you brought your career into the marriage and that militant person and things like that. So this guy wanted to know, how do you switch hats? How do you change from who you are on the outside and not bring that same controlling or demanding inside the home? And I really wanted to address that for him. And he said, how do a man look inward?
Yes.
And I love that he asked this question, because a lot of times women, we are talking to our men, telling them how to be, what to be. They came
That's
from
true.
single moms sometime that a mother is saying it. If you're in the school system, women are telling
Teaching
you
you.
and teaching you.
Mhm.
So I would love if you could address this guy on how do a man look inward and how do he reverse those hats, change
Right.
those hats.
Right. And that's a great question. For 20 years, I was a soldier. And in that institution, you actually, if you want to do it well, you take on the spirit of a warrior. And that spirit doesn't always translate well into relationships or into your home. And in our book, 7 Days of Forgiveness, we talk about ways that men, particularly, are able to not only uh, distill that from your love relationships, but actually enhance the nurturing side of your personality so that all of the rigidness and authoritarian parts of your personality don't damage your relationship. Now, for me, because of that 2 decade experience, there were things I needed to forgive myself for. Now, we always think of forgiveness being projected towards someone else. For me, I needed to forgive myself. I had made a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of things that were inherent to the military experience that I needed to release that damaged me more than I thought they had.
Yeah.
And this practice allowed me to not only forgive myself in a way that allowed me to be a better mate, a better partner, but also to be a better man. And that happened. It didn't happen overnight.
That's why it's a
And
practice.
that's why we call it a
That's practice.
practice. It's just like hygiene. If you don't do it every day,
You're gonna be
something
funky.
happens. It's just like exercise. If you don't do a little every day, you reap the benefits of that. So that as a practice, when I learned that what forgiveness could do over time, and I want to emphasize that over time, I began to see a shift in my personality to the degree that I was able to look at others not as someone necessarily to lead or control, but someone to love and to apply a type of leadership that I call and others call servant leadership. What can I do for this person
Yeah.
to make their life better, to encourage them, and to lead them from a place of love? Because now I don't have any past experiences polluting the present relationship and the way that I approach it.
Can I just add something
Yes,
to that? I think, and he probably, I don't know if I've actually ever said this to him, but over
Uh-oh.
our years of marriage, I think that he softened because of this inward, sort of analysis. He became more vulnerable. I think men think they always have to be powerful and in control. Because he was able to really deal with his own hurt, it allowed him to be a little more vulnerable. And then he saw me as a partner, not someone that he had to lead.
Awesome.
You know,
Awesome.
so
And as a black man in particular,
Yeah.
in the culture that we're in, where we see biases of all kinds simply because of the color of our skin, we're usually armored up.
that's right.
Armored up in the marketplace, armored up in our relationships, even armored up in the ministry, because we're always being judged, which is funny to me because who's really qualified to do that? No one is.
That's a
and
whole
yet,
noth- yeah,
and
that's
yet
a
we
whole noth-
do
yeah,
it to
we do it
each
all the
other
time.
often.
Hit the resume. There you go. All right.
Yes.
And I want to be sure to tell the brothers that are looking to take the next step in their manhood, because this is an important part of manhood, particularly men who want to be in relationships with great women. You have to be the kind of man that attracts them. And it just seems like, and I've learned that being more vulnerable with them is the way to go. Women need to feel like you understand, that you can listen, and that when things become tense or there are disagreements, you don't get so hard and stubborn that you become
Just
incapable
incorrigible.
of communicating, because that's the time when communication is most important.
Mhm.
When there are disagreements, you don't automatically go into your warrior posture where you must win, where you must dominate, where you must control. And I
Yeah.
think that's where we fail. That's where I fail.
Wow. I'm glad you said when. So I'm going to take a question that a young lady said. She says, I know I'm always correct. Now that might be the
That
wrong
might be,
word.
yeah.
But she was saying, how do I not have a winning spirit? And I
Yeah.
believe she's trying to say, like,
Yeah.
she always have to win or prove that he's wrong or
Sure.
prove that she's right.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I know last conversation we had, you all talked about how sometimes you give in to each other, even if it's.
Yeah.
So can you talk and tell her a little bit how to apply that and how to do that when you
Yeah.
know he just did it wrong or he
Right.
keeps doing that?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to show him and prove. And I think maybe her winning spirit, I don't think that she's being mean. I think maybe she's still trying to change him
Yeah,
in that.
I
that's
was
not
just
winning
about-
spirit. That's
Yeah,
a competitive
that's a
spirit.
competitive,
That's different.
competitive.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you hit it
Be a
right there.
winner.
Assuming that it's in that context, you know, you win or you want to win because you want to overcome someone.
Mm.
You want to overcome someone, and in relationships, it's not about overcoming each other, right? It's about partnering with one another. It's about being a helpmate.
But what if I'm right? I'm going to go with her because
Absolutely.
I can
Absolutely.
resonate with that.
So the thing is that do you want your spouse to be his best? And if you want him to be his best, do you think telling him he's wrong every time is going to get him to be his best? No. But what you do show is what's the benefit of listening to me? If we are able to come to a mutual understanding, not about winning, but if we're able to come to a mutual understanding, we're actually here to help each other, not get over on each other. So even if he's wrong, sometimes you have to yield back for a minute and just say, okay, I'm assuming there's no abuse. I'm assuming
Right,
there's no,
yeah.
someone's not putting their hands on me, that kind of stuff. But just like a traditional sort of argument, sometimes being still for a minute and listening, I'm assuming I'm talking to a believer too.
Okay.
Someone who will stop for a minute and say, you know what, Lord, what is actually do I need to say? Because oftentimes we are already creating the rebuttal and not really listening to what the person is saying. At the heart of arguments is hurt. Okay. And so if we can't hear someone's hurt because we're trying to win, how can we ever get to the source of the problem? So sometimes we have to step out of our own need to win and just really absolutely listen, because for whatever reason, they do have a point of view. In their mind, they're winning.
Yes.
Right?
And I like that you said at the heart of every argument, there's hurt.
There is some hurt.
So we need to really
Yeah.
listen for that hurt.
Right.
to
So
identify.
it's like the second layer of communication. I mean, one of the blogs we did on our website was deep hurt requires deep work. And so it's not, if you really think that you're trying to win every time, you're not going to hear anybody's hurt. You're not going to hear anyone's point of view. You're just going to make sure that you just get your point out. And that's not the point. The point is that you're actually trying to build each other up. You're trying to edify each other. Right?
Yes.
So, and if for whatever reason it's difficult for you to find the words, sometimes take a pause and write that stuff down. Write a letter, write it in an email, send a note so that you have a time to read it a couple different times so that the interpretation of that information can actually land on that person well. Because you can be right all day long, but if it doesn't land on him well, it doesn't matter.
Wow. Did you hear that? It doesn't matter. You could be right. Yeah.
And pick your battles too. Because sometimes the other person is wrong.
Yeah.
And there is a time to assert your point of view. Just know that in the course of that conflict, when you realize that that person just can't hear you, and they don't see your point of view because
it's just too
because they're being stubborn. Let's even say, decide if you want to die on that hill. Decide if
is that the argument that's going to take you down? Is that worth it?
Yeah, because some people just are stubborn, and sometimes you just have to pray. And so that their process causes them to soften and be vulnerable, like we just talked about. Because if they're not, you're not going to change them in that argument.
Yeah. And being right and wanting to win does not coexist with vulnerability.
Yes.
And it will always escalate.
Yeah.
And you have to decide how far you're going to take this to the degree that could this end the relationship? maybe it could if that characteristic proves to be something that you can't live with. But at the same time, if it's something small that suddenly has become big, maybe you can let it go. But we're not encouraging anyone to be a doormat either.
Yeah, that's
Right.
not the point.
It's a delicate balance. Choose your battles.
Yeah,
Choose
but
your
resist
battles.
making it bigger, which is the second part of our practice.
Yes.
Is
yes.
resist making it bigger. Really try to compartmentalize and say, is this worth it?
Yes.
Okay. So since we talked about choose your battles, I did have one other question. It says, how do you fight fair? How do you fight fair?
That's a great question.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
remember on our last conversation, you were talking about like
Real Talk
John and
Monday.
I are not exempt from,
No.
Mhm.
arguments or
We fight.
fights or whatever.
We fight.
But how do you fight fair?
Ooh, did you want to take a swing at that first?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
When she upsets me, and I realize that I want to hold my position, I need to communicate a point of view that I'm seeing that she's missing. I'm immediately feeling my emotions stir up. I may even get angry. She knows that, and she can tell when it's happening. Now, my first thought has to be, okay, this is someone that I love. If you don't default to that,
Yes.
you're going to attack. And I've done that.
Mhm.
And I'm good at that.
Very good.
But is this someone I want to hurt? Or is
Right.
this someone
Yeah.
I want to connect with and reconcile with and just assert my point of view so that in a way that they can understand where I'm coming from? It's about getting to a place where she will listen. And once the emotions start stirring up and the anger begins to take over,
it's not working.
you're in a place now where you're at war.
Right.
And that is, unfortunately for me, that's something that I'm very comfortable with
Mhm.
and very willing to do in the right circumstances, but not with her. I don't want to destroy her. I don't want to highlight her weaknesses. I want to lift her up. But when I'm out of control, I have to pause. I have to resist making it bigger. And the first posture in our practice is begin in the spirit. I have to go, okay, Lord, I want to communicate something to the person that I love that she's not understanding. How can I do that? And this is all happening internally for me.
Right.
I don't want this to be bigger than it is. So how am I feeling? Am I angry or am I just frustrated and irritated? Because there's a difference. If I'm just irritated or frustrated, I can take a breath and I can decide, okay, I'm going to approach this in a way that I know she will understand and not necessarily inflame her emotions so that she attacks me back.
Yes.
And if I'm able to do that, we can get to a place where then we can communicate in a way where she will actually listen to me and try to understand versus holding her position. I'm holding my position. And now we're just clashing. And the first one to crumble is the loser. And that's usually how we fight.
The thing that helped me in this idea of fighting fair is, does my intention match my impact? Okay.
Explain. Intention.
So if my intention is for us to have an understanding, then if I'm saying something that is causing an impact that is not getting there, then there's a disconnect with my intention. That means I need to change what I'm doing in order to impact the way that I want.
Yes.
So if my intention isn't matching my impact, I've got to step back and say, I got to rethink this. Okay. It's sort of like with the same tools, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. He's irritated. He's angry. I've said something. I've triggered him. Those are the internal conversations, and you got to practice that because
I was about to say that takes practice because usually in the heat of the moment, you react and respond,
But after a while, think about, even just look at the stuff that's happening on the world stage. Okay. When people are just reacting and doing things, stuff escalates. Stuff goes sideways quickly.
Yes.
Right? Imagine if world leaders just paused for a minute. Imagine if they had their intention to match their impact. Their impact matched the intention. We probably wouldn't have half the issues that we have. Controversy and conflict happens when those two things are disconnected.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's
Hmm.
good. All right. I'm going to go to my last question. Then we're going to catch people up to
Yeah.
really about this process in
Mhm.
your book. And I want you to talk about your yoga this time as
Yeah.
well. I know we missed
Yeah.
out that. Okay, so this is to Yuri. I know when you were talking about earlier in the interview last time, you were talking about staying true to who you are. And I think this was in your old
Hmm.
marriage and not
Yeah.
changing for others. Someone wants to know, how do you stay true to who you are? How do you not get lost in a marriage?
Right.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's important
For
because then you
women.
don't have those battles afterwards trying to be heard and having an argument because you feel like, you don't see me or I'm someone else. So how do you
Yeah.
stay true, especially since you've experienced that before?
Sure.
How did you come into this marriage
Yeah.
and actually stay true to who you are?
I began to create my own thresholds.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't create our own boundaries. We don't know what our boundaries are because we're just so excited. Some women just want to be married.
Yes. Ooh, he
I
asked.
mean, I'm just being,
Yes.
And that's okay.
and it's not that that's wrong, but there is, after the wedding and the honeymoon, there's a marriage to contend with,
Mm.
and it's not fairy tale after
Yes.
that. So it's really being true to, and I would honestly say, if you don't know who you are and whose you are before you get married, don't get married.
Wow. So you're telling me
Yeah.
he won't complete me?
Yeah, he's not going to complete you.
So you're
Yeah.
telling me he won't
Yeah.
really like be
You
able
gotta
He
to
be
will.
help me
complete
You
going
gotta be
identify?
in.
you gotta be complete going in.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
so I realized that I was searching for him to fix me rather than seeking God and myself to fix me.
Hmm.
So I wanted to come in. And it doesn't mean that I was completely whole when I met John, but I was
Yes.
better, than I was,
Correct.
and I created some boundaries, like I said, and some deal breakers for myself. I knew that I knew that I needed to be with a man of God. I was done with messing around with that, being unequally yoked. I just knew that I needed to be with a man of God, and not on paper, not just going to church and dressing up on Sunday. I'm talking about somebody who knows how to fall on his knees, ask for help, ask for intimacy, looking for intimacy with Christ. I knew I needed to have that, like, in a real way. The other thing is, I knew I needed to have somebody who was just simply kind, who
Yes.
was not who was not antagonistic. I wanted to have his strength, but I could not deal with just somebody who was just always irritable. Sometimes we overlook things, that because if how he is today is slightly bothering you, 5-6 years in the marriage, that thing is going to be 100% exponentiated.
Now you just helped somebody right now. She just helped somebody. How they are right
Right
now.
now,
If it's slightly
yeah,
bothering you. Yeah.
it's going to get worse. And it's not about thinking you can go in and change them.
Yes.
Because if you think you can go in and change them, you end up changing. And that's what
Wow.
I did. So those three things: being whole on my own,
Mm-hmm.
really recognizing, what my boundaries are and my deal breakers. What are those things that are necessary, for myself, because I just couldn't live without them. And then not trying to change that other person.
Oh
And that's how
wow.
I was able to maintain me.
That's good. That's good. I mean, that's a whole book right there.
Okay.
That's some
Yes,
wisdom
it
right
is. Yes, it
there.
is.
Yeah.
Whole on my own. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, we're not whole.
And
We
I'm not
don't do
talking
the
about I'm
work.
independent, I'm
Oh,
grown, I'm
yeah.
blah,
I
blah,
make
blah.
my
I'll
own
make my
money.
own money. I'm not talking about that.
No.
I'm talking about, I know how to get myself to peace faster.
Come on now.
I know how, whether regardless of my circumstances,
I can
I know I
control
can
my
control my
emotions.
emotions. I know about my health. I know I'm
Yes.
not going to let someone else's dormant behavior stop me from exercising and being my best self.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I mean by being whole. Not
Yes.
about what's in your checkbook and, that I don't need nobody. No, that's not it, because we all are relationship people.
Yes.
And God intended for us to be in relationship with one another.
That's good, helping me. So it
Okay.
said to be whole, and then the second one was boundaries and knew
Yeah.
your deal breakers. And I think someone did ask on that too. How do I set standards and
Yeah.
deal breakers? And when did you guys together set those? Because I know
Yeah.
you talked
Yeah.
about the rules
Yeah,
of
we did.
engagement,
Yeah,
and
We
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 did.
talked
did.
about the Monday where
Real
I'm
talk
gonna let you
Monday.
all talk about that.
Yeah.
But how
Yeah.
did you all? So you said you had this together, like kind of going in. Was it a time that you all came together and said, "Hey, this is what I want. This is what we're gonna do"?
It's
Like,
when, it's
how
when,
did
it's
you
when we
do
prayed
that?
together.
Okay.
It's when we prayed together. Just
Because
being
we had
honest.
chemistry, and
Mhm.
we knew that was going to be fine.
Right.
And mine weren't complicated. I only had a few. You can't hit me.
Mhm.
You can't lie to me. and there was another one. I can't remember.
I think those were the only ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there,
you
I
can't
think
stay
those.
in relationship with people that you've slept with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then the rest kind of come through the relationship. The
yeah.
list didn't get very long because we were grown,
Uh-huh.
but at the same time,
Oh
when we
yeah, and
finally
that we
did come
shared our money. We
together,
figured we would have more together than separate. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
right, that was
yeah,
what I meant.
no,
We
because
were
we were
more
both tithers.
together.
We were both
Right.
tithers, and we wanted to be able to know that our money was coming together and pooled together. No hate to anyone who deals, whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
decide are the rules are your rules, as long as you both are in agreement around it.
Yes.
agreed.
And I think we both also were in agreement on our family's craziness. You know, we all have these degrees of craziness, and we were clear that we were not going to let anything come between us. That we were going to have a unified front. That meant our children. That meant parents. That meant siblings. We were not going to let anybody come in
The
between our
job.
relationship.
Okay. So I know a lot of times when most relationships make rules is because something happened. Like, okay, well, we're never going to do this again. It sounds like you all were intentional
Exactly.
on making these ground
Absolutely.
rules.
Yeah.
You
This
were
is our third
intentional coming
time.
in. Yeah.
Let
So
me be
you
real
came in
clear.
like, this is what I
Someone
need. This
gonna
is what
die
we're
old
going
in
to
this
do.
one.
Okay. That's
Neither
great.
of us, I think,
Yeah.
planned to
No.
marry the
Yeah.
third time.
Yeah, I
Time.
would have. I
Mhm.
was done.
But we came to the point where we couldn't imagine our lives without one another.
Mhm.
So we had to try, and it wasn't always pretty. It's been
Yeah.
10 years,
Yeah.
and it wasn't always pretty. But one thing that we agreed on is that if the boundaries remained intact, everything else was negotiable. And we were going to use this forgiveness for real
Yeah.
to release one another, to release ourselves, and to stay in relationship with God. Because if you don't forgive someone else, He can't
Forgive
forgive
you.
you.
Yes.
And that's the thing that most people forget.
Forget.
This is a mission essential task for Christians because you can't walk around angry, hurt, wounded, thinking about what someone did to you
Yeah.
and expect for you and God to be cool. It's
It's
against His word
Word.
specifically.
yeah.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, we're going to take a little commercial break, a sponsor break. But when we come back,
Yeah.
again, I want you to actually give us what is the forgiveness process and go back into your book a little bit. I know we touched on it a little bit, but I
Sure.
want you to give a
That's
few
good.
more nuggets of that.
Sure.
And we're going to open up our call line. If you're out there and you want to call in, the number is 708-223-8953 with your questions and your comments. You are listening to the Hello Show with Kimberly, my voice. Tonight, our sponsor is You Gotta See This to Believe It. And girl, you got to see this. I mean, she has me blinging tonight, right?
beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? I was just like, oh, wow. So this is from the Z collection, so it is $25. But she has things as low as $5. You hear me? $5 earrings, bracelets, necklace. I mean, nickel free, lead free. You can't beat it. $5. So if you're interested in getting some paparazzi jewelry, building your confidence, building your look, or even maybe building your own business, please contact Juanita. She's going to put her information in our comments. And also, we got to see, Juanita, are you having a show after this? Make sure you go to her Facebook page. It's going to be logged on my page as well, so you can do a little shopping. And if you're interested in being a sponsor of the Hello Show, please give me an email at kimberlymyvoice@gmail.com, because guess what? Just as you're listening, your potential client, customer is out there listening too. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Hello with the Kimberly My Voice, where we're not afraid to say hello to conversations that make us fearful, that maybe even intimidate us, just a situation in our life, because we realize if you don't address it, you can't change it. And on tonight, we are changing our relationship. We're getting information on how to love and how to forgive. And we're with the Cruzettes. And right now, from this break, we're about to ask them the number one question: explain forgiveness to us again. I mean, and I
Yeah.
keep saying this
Yeah.
because it really is a practice.
It really is.
We can hear it. And one thing about, we were just talking that my profession is a teacher. And one thing, I could give children definitions, but I have to model it.
That's
I
right.
have to come back and bring it back in their face and ask them how they're applying it, and challenge them to actually use it. So I don't want to sound like just, oh, she asking again, but
No.
there's someone else that need to hear it one more time,
Yes.
or
Sure.
need to hear it in a different way where they can say, oh, I got it.
Yes.
That's what it is, or
Sure.
that's what it's not. And I know last week we talked about the stacking. We talked about so many good
Yes.
things.
Okay.
So I just want, on this night, what would you say forgiveness is, and how do we do that? And then we're going to
Wow.
go into your book.
I like what Covey said, that whenever you approach something like this, you have to begin with the end in mind. When you know you've forgiven, ultimately, not only are you not carrying around the baggage of the wound or trauma or whatever it is, but you can ultimately wish that person well.
Wow.
Wish them well.
That's how you know that it's done. Not I just let it go and I don't never want to see that person again. Okay, that's probably okay, but your real forgiveness is accomplished when you can actually maybe even be in the space with that person and wish them well. That's how you know it's finished, when there's no baggage.
No residual. That's
And the
right.
Just Breathe practice in our book, 7 Days of Forgiveness, kind of outlines what that is, how to get
And
there.
so we'll talk about how to get there, but I also want to talk about, it's not reconciliation. I think sometimes
Oh, yeah.
people think that forgiveness means, oh, I'm going to go out and hang out with you. I'm going to spend time with you. No, you may not necessarily need to be with that person because they're still in their crazy and they don't need to, they're still out hurting people.
Yes.
Or maybe
know?
you can't because they've passed on.
Or they passed on, right? But it's this place of that you're operating from wholeness, that the forgiveness is for you, not for the offender.
And I like that with the wholeness. It's funny. I visited church on Sunday because I've been in awe of a pastor that I've been watching on Facebook. And last week, Sunday, he did about forgiveness.
Mm.
And I was sitting there like, oh, this is so in line. But what I learned for myself, I'm quote unquote good at forgiving people. I do. I have a heart of compassion if I understand why you did it. Even my children say, well, Mom, somebody do something else, send Dad or send my father, because you come and start praying for them, loving on them, because that's just me. But what I learned was, my thing wasn't forgiving. My thing was holding on to the pain. That I even went to the altar like, I just want to forgive whoever it is. And then I'm going like, God, who do I forgive? And honestly, people that have done stuff to me, they even know that they could call me if they needed money or a place to stay. Because no matter what they did to me, they know I have a forgiving heart. But what I saw within myself, I have pain that I store.
That's right.
So when I get with you or a next relationship or some type of place where I should trust,
your trigger.
I'm triggered, and I'm holding so much pain that I'm like, okay, anything you do, is this going to break me? Because I have pain that you didn't inflict it on me, but because I'm so, and I'm so burdened. So I asked that because that's some of the baggage. Do you know what I'm saying? So like,
exactly
how could you address that? Even for myself, I'm like, oh, I can forgive them. I love them. I because honestly, wish you well, help you get there. But can I be open and whole to a new relationship because I have this pain?
Yeah. Right.
So like,
so who is, at the end of the day, who's your healer?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think you have to heal yourself, then you'll kind of always hold on to that.
Yes.
We serve a master healer.
Oh, come on now. Point me to the man.
And so I mean, and I don't want to sound religious because that's not what this is about. Yes. It's about, you really have to believe that if God is your Lord and your comforter, that you have to believe his report over your circumstances.
Yes.
That he is there for you. If he's with you, who can be against you? When you really understand that, I mean, think about that deeply. If he is in my corner, then there's no reason for me to continue to hold on to the hurt. Because anyone else who's going to come to me, he's going to protect me. He's going to create a hedge of protection around me. If I allow that to happen, the thing is that you're still trying to control it.
Yes. Yes.
You're still trying to control it. So forgiveness is this idea of, begin in the spirit, just breathe. First off, whenever something happens and becomes escalated, we just got to level off for a minute. So that's how we got just breathe, first. But it's begin in the spirit, resist making it bigger. which is the stacking, which is bringing the old stuff into the current situation. And in Begin in the Spirit, we have a little mnemonic there too. It's called STOP, which is surrender the circumstances, tell God what is happening, and offer a sacrifice of praise, and then prepare yourself for the next thing.
Oh, wow.
And we use those
Yeah.
because it's such a great
It's
memory
just
tool.
it just
Who's
helps.
going to remember all this?
Yes.
But breathe, stop, and
Yeah.
all these little mnemonics that we use are just great ways to
So
keep
while
it in
you're
your
in the
memory.
mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then evaluate your emotions is E. You want to keep
No,
on going?
go ahead.
Okay. Agree to stabilize, temper responses, expect healing, and then enter his peace.
Yes.
And so we've taken ourselves through that whole cycle. I can't even tell you how many times I go through that cycle just in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Something hits me. I'm like, okay, Lord, this person has done something to me. In my anger, do not sin. Greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. I mean, those are the things that I'm just saying to myself. You have to have a modality, something that allows you to just hold on to. Because think
And it may
about
not
it.
be visible to
Right,
anyone.
to anyone else. But guess what? Anger is a modality to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yeah.
You know, people lean on anger immediately.
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one.
It's
Easy. You just do that. That's easy for you to do that. So and you practice it, and
Mhm.
and after a while, it just becomes automatic.
Yes, we do.
So you've got to now change that behavior, and the only way that you can change that, it's just like if you've been eating pork chop sandwiches 3 days a week, it's hard to let that go because your body craves it.
It craves it. Yes.
Right? When something happens, your body craves anger because that's your default.
Wow.
Okay, so you've now got to create a different system, a different process, a different practice that allows you to transform. And so people think this is automatic. It's like, no, deep hurt requires deep work. Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
So you have to do this. These are faith walks. These are moments in time where you're saying, you know what? I know that God is here to make things better, to give me hope in a future, not to harm me. So if you believe that, then you allow the hurt to just be released.
Even if you don't
Feel it.
like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You're feeling.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
Because we default to our feelings.
Yeah.
It's usually what we use to determine how we live and react in the world. Feelings aren't always a great navigation tool.
So
They will
Yeah.
almost always lead you down the wrong path, particularly when you're talking about hurt, anger, frustration, and things like that.
Yeah.
If
Seek
you don't
discernment.
recognize it.
Yeah. Seek discernment, not feelings.
yeah.
Seek
And
discernment.
I think I remember something I wrote down you said last week. You said your will, your mind, and emotion, it doesn't have a government.
No, it's not governed by anything.
It's not governed by anything. So it's kind of what you're saying, that if we
Yeah.
go by our feelings, like
Yeah.
this is how I feel, this is, where I'm at right now. And especially us, I just need to be real.
That's right. I'm in my feelings.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you don't have a truth, because I'm
Okay.
not trying to, curb someone's truth. But who's the ultimate truth?
Mm-hmm.
What is the ultimate truth? It's not your anger.
Yes.
No.
Christ didn't die for you to walk around with a chip on your shoulder and for you to be angry.
Right.
The real truth is that he is here for you to have a life and have it more abundantly. How can you have that if you're holding on to anger?
To walk in joy.
To walk in joy.
Show people to the best
Yeah.
of your ability.
Yeah, as best you can.
Love.
Yeah.
And that takes practice. And by building your spirit, you can then overcome emotions that will lead you in the wrong direction. And that takes time and practice, unfortunately.
So I heard a few things you said earlier when you were talking about, I'm just going to ask the question. Do you think that there is like this thing of soulmates? How people say that's just a person that I'm supposed to be with and it's just something magical and it's supposed to work? Or do you, and I asked this because you said something interesting. You was like, both of us decided, like, I can't live without you. I can't live without you. I couldn't see life without you. So we decided to kind of come together and we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
And then I hear so many people out there that, we have fantasies, or we be like, he just wasn't
Absolutely.
for me, or, my guy, or, when I meet that right person. So do you believe there is a such thing as meeting the right person, or is it us being the right people?
Wow. That's it.
That's a great question.
We have to be the right people as best we
You
can.
Mhm.
But if you enter into a relationship, let's say before you're actualized, for lack of a better word,
Yes.
we're all imperfect people. And I do ascribe to the soulmate philosophy, because I know how I felt when I connected with her. But when we met, I wasn't in any real position to have a relationship with her because I still had some work to do.
Right.
But because I couldn't imagine my life without her, guess what? I went to work.
Come on now. I like
went
that.
to work.
I like
and
that.
I wanted to be my best self when the opportunity arose. And it may or may not have happened. There's still a lot of variables. So that even if you're in a relationship that you think is not working, it doesn't mean you should leave it. It means that you need to have an honest conversation with that other person. And if you both are willing to take that journey to your best selves, that can happen together.
It really can. And I do think there is a natural chemistry that happens.
Yeah.
What happens,
soulmate.
that's the soulmate
That's just
piece.
not the highest level
Yeah,
of
that's
the
right.
relationship.
Okay.
I mean, I think you do need to start at that level. But if the sex is just good and the traveling and having fun is just good, and when stuff gets hard, you can't find
You
this
bail.
other person and they bail, that's not a soulmate.
Right.
You know, that's just someone who you have great chemistry with.
Wow.
And so they make chemistry love, and chemistry ain't love. It's just chemistry.
But it can lead to love.
It can
It can
lead.
lead to
It can lead there if
we're
there's a
talking
willingness.
about in Christ.
Right.
That's a whole different way to have a relationship, because we're all going to be attracted to people.
That's right.
You're going to be attracted to more than one person. That's why we were married multiple times. And even before that, we had girlfriends, boyfriends.
Right.
You're going to be attracted to
That's
a
right.
lot of people. But when you're ready to have one person and it be in a covenant with that person, doesn't mean you're not going to be attracted to other people. It just means you've decided to deprive yourself of all the other choices to focus on this one.
And I don't know if it's depriving, because that's not for me anyway, it doesn't sound like, it's more like I've just chosen that I would not want to put anything that I do, I wouldn't want it to put my relationship at risk.
When it becomes the priority.
When it becomes the priority. It's like, you know what? That over there, that grass ain't greener.
Right.
That's just me being real, because as a man, I know.
Yeah.
And I know other men who are in committed relationships and see someone that they're attracted to and will not deprive themselves of the opportunity to get to know that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they should say no.
Yeah.
That
Is
would
not good.
jeopardize what I've committed to.
Right.
And it's a choice.
Yeah,
every day.
Absolutely. But I do think that there has to be passion. You know, I mean, there has to be. This is not an intellectual exercise. You know, there has to be passion. I think passion, you know, starts when I think about 11 years ago. You know, when we met, there was high passion, and we still have that.
Yes.
Even through the bumps and the bruises, and I mean, it's just we still have passion.
And even when we don't feel it, we fight to get back to it because it's worth it.
Because it's worth it.
I love it. Fight to get back to it. And that's something that I gathered from you guys last time when you were talking about winning, and you were like, sometime I know she's wrong, but for the better good. So really, it's not about either one of you winning, but it's about the relationship winning.
The covenant. That's right.
It's the covenant.
It's the covenant winning. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's enough out there to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yes.
Right? So just as there's much working for us, there's stuff that's working against marriage just in general.
Yes.
So we're just not going to go out like a punk.
Yeah.
Really? And none of these are guarantees.
Yeah.
Every day we have to choose each other.
Yeah.
Every day.
I love it. I love how you keep showing us how to do the work.
Yeah.
How that
that's actually one of our, that was one of our,
how to do the work.
What do you call it? It was one of our, what do we call that? I forgot now what we called it.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Pacts.
It was one of our pacts.
I choose you.
I choose you today.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Because sometimes we don't realize how much work and how it's a daily choice and it's a daily practice. And you all are enlightening me. I'm like, wow, every day.
There will always be temptation.
It is.
There will always be challenges.
And let me be clear, especially when you're deciding to get better, the challenges exponentiate.
Yeah, it's just like when you're on a fast and then the office buy donuts.
Right. I hadn't had a donut in a year and I can care less. And now because I'm fasting.
Yes, like, we brought free breakfast for everyone. And you're like, really?
And you know what? You're also tested in the area of your destiny. You know, if you struggle with money, that is typically the area where you are supposed to be strong. And you have to begin to focus your efforts, get all the knowledge you can, and learn how to be a better money manager so that you can then grow into your destiny. And it's the same in relationships.
Wow. Wow. So going in, did you all have any idea that you will be doing this type
Oh
of
my
marriage
gosh.
ministry?
No.
No.
Ministry
No.
at all. Like,
No.
really?
Ministry at all.
No, we were corporate people.
Mhm.
We had gigs.
Wanted to
We
make
were
money.
traveling. We
wanted
we
to build
met.
influence.
Yeah,
We
we
wanted to-
were traveling all over the country and the world. We were doing completely different stuff. Always had Christ.
Right,
and
exactly.
We were Christians.
We were, yeah, but not like this.
So tell us some of the things you are doing. We have a couple more
Sure.
minutes, but
Yeah.
tell us what you are doing, how
Yeah.
this marriage and ministry
Oh my gosh.
is making an effect outside of the Hello Show, because you all are giving us life.
Oh,
Mhm.
There's
thank you.
of
There's a
great
lot.
things happening.
So
Yeah.
we are actually, a couple things are happening. We are partnering up, actually, just coming up on April 1st. Actually, we're partnering up with AC Green and the the WVON Blue Light Foundation.
Okay.
We are going to be an integral partnership called Success Sessions, where it is a professional development and personal development that's going to be happening in Tinley Park, and we're excited about it. It is getting your mind right, getting your finances right. He's saved so many different homes and all that, but it's now bigger than that. It's about how do you get your health corrected? How do you get your spirit corrected? So it's going to be a very holistic approach to complete wholeness. So we are really excited about that. And
Awesome.
we've got the lock on spirit and health and wellness. So we are so excited to be a part of this team and this collaboration. We've got our own workshops that are going to be doing between marriage and individual workshops.
Oh,
And then,
that's what I was about to ask.
yeah.
Mhm.
And we're actually getting ready to launch a forgiveness workshop for women at the Emmaus community on March 24th and March 31st. This will be free.
Oh, wow.
It'll be 3 hours these 2 Saturdays. So you're committed, and we're going to peel back the onion on forgiveness.
We need our
Oh,
women
wow.
to heal.
Yeah, these are women's sessions on the 24th and 31st at the Emmaus community.
Please keep me posted.
Yep,
if you
absolutely.
have, please tag it to my page.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
then we have men in April and May at the
Right.
Man Cave
Man
at Emmaus
cave.
as well. And then we have yoga beginning a 6-week series on the 22nd of March. Every Thursday and Saturday, we'll be teaching yoga. That's the modality for us.
Spirit,
Okay.
soul, and body.
In yoga, it allows you to really sort of eliminate all the noise and really get centered and present to your practice right there on the mat.
And it's not about the
Is it a
Eastern
couple thing,
philosophy.
or
No,
is it?
no.
Okay.
It can be.
It can be.
It's
but-
always
okay.
better
Yeah.
when you do things
It's
with
with
your
some
spouse or
Right.
significant other.
Mhm.
Yeah, but no, it's
It's
just open
about
to everybody.
relationships,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's open to everybody. We
But
have single
if you're
people, single men, single
and you're
women.
just on that journey to being your better self so that you can have a good relationship, that's the place to be.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll send you all the
Awesome.
stuff. We've got great stuff coming up.
Please.
Oh yeah, and then we're actually going to be at the expo for Today's Black Woman. We'll have a seminar there on that Sunday, August 7th. April
wow.
7th.
So what's the title? Or what's the?
It's going to be learning forgiveness, but I'm not sure if we're going to make it spirit, soul, and body. We're still trying to figure out how we were there last year as well, and they asked us to come back, so we're excited about that.
Oh, wow.
Because it's all valuable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's happening in the church under the banner of Christ or
Yeah.
whether it's happening in the community
In the
under the
marketplace.
banner of
Yeah,
health
absolutely.
and wellness,
Mhm.
you get in where you fit in, but ultimately you're going to be exposed to all of it because it's essential to being your best self.
Yeah.
Awesome. Give us that acronym for breathe one more time.
Just
Go on out.
breathe.
Breathe, you guys.
Begin in the spirit.
Begin in the spirit.
Resist making it bigger. Evaluate emotions. Agree to stabilize. Temper responses. Expect healing. And then enter his peace.
First piece.
All right. So I hope that we have allowed you to enter his peace. You
Yeah.
are listening to Hello with Kimberly, My Voice. You are here with the Love Forgiveness crew, the couple. I mean, like, it is so awesome to get very good content to learn how to love and learn how to forgive. And I say to learn how to love because that's what you're teaching.
Yeah.
Even though
at
it's
the end of
through
the day.
forgiveness.
Absolutely.
At the end
We
of the
were
day,
forgiven.
Yes.
you are teaching the love of Christ that we should have to each other.
Mm.
So thanks again for tuning in. I am Kimberly, My Voice. You have tuned into Hello Show. Please make sure you like, and you share, because someone out there needs to have this conversation, and you could be that friend to pass it to them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
Kimberly.
thank you. All of
I will love you anyway, even if you can.